What's going on, Legionnaires, and welcome back to Comic Breakdown. If you guys are new to the channel, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell, and make sure you're not missing any of the awesome content we have coming out. Now, for this video, we're going to be jumping into some what if with Spider-Man, Spider Shadow issue number 2. Now, this comic line is a what-if scenario on what if Peter Parker kept Venom. Now, if you haven't been keeping up with this line, go ahead and check out the link in the description as well as the top of this video. It's going to get you completely caught up on everything going on in this line. Now, this is written by Chip Starsky. Artist is Pasquale Ferry, and the color artist is Matt Hollingsworth. And with that being said, let's dive into this breakdown. Alright guys, so as we dive into issue number 2, the last issue, it left us on a real big cliffhanger. A cliffhanger with Peter Parker killing the Goblin because his Aunt May was just murdered. And so now we see Peter Parker really starting to struggle. You know, he feels he does have a responsibility. He has this power and this responsibility, but who has he really saved? You know, he never keeps anybody truly safe. He puts these individuals in prison, but at the end of the day, when they're sitting there in prison, they're just preparing for when they get out, for what they're gonna do when they do get out. And all those plans that they make, those plans lead to somebody getting murdered. But this is where Venom gives them a little bit of reassurance that it's no longer his singular responsibility. It is now both of their responsibility, and Venom vows to help him. And this is where we start to see a much darker side of Peter Parker. Not so much the emo Peter Parker that we saw in the Spider-Man movie, but somebody that's truly troubled. And not because he killed somebody, because he thought it would feel worse killing somebody. He thought he would have more guilt from it. But really, the only thing he has is shame. And it's not shame that he did it, but it's a shame that he feels that he would fear how people would react knowing that Peter Parker, knowing that Spider-Man is a murderer. MJ knowing this information. This is kind of stuff that really bothers him at the end of the day when it comes to all of this. Not the fact that he did it, but the fact that he will be judged by those he loves. And so he doesn't want anybody thinking he's some kind of murderer. But it might be too late for that, because the Daily Bugle, they've already put on the front page, exactly what happened to Hobgoblin. And of course, Peter Parker is being blamed for it. Jameson always blames Peter Parker, or should I say Spider-Man. Spider-Man is always the bad guy. Jameson has said this from the beginning, and this is more solidifying that. But this newspaper, it goes around town. A lot of people see it. One of those individuals being Kingpin, being Fisk. Now this is scary news for Fisk, because they can deal with superheroes, with vigilantes going around and cutting out a portion of their profits. Putting a guy in jail, taking whatever they have on them, you know, they can deal with that. They can work around that. What they can't work around is people like Spider-Man deciding that they are now judge, jury, and executioner. Because what they can't go around is if Spider-Man decides to show up and kill Fisk. And so Fisk thinks it's a good idea to start making some phone calls. Now this is where it takes us to the Daily Bugle, and Venom comes crashing through the window, calling out for Jonah. And immediately Jonah, you know, he's saying, call the police, get somebody here. And Spider-Man's telling him, you know, he doesn't care anymore. He's done caring. You know, you have painted me as the villain for so long, so now I'm finally gonna do it. I'm gonna do exactly what you say I have been. And this is where we see him grab Jonah's hand and literally break all of the bones in his hand. And he lets him know that he's helping more people now, and he's a criminal. He can live with that. But he also lets him know that if he writes another article like that, he's going to come back. He's going to come back and break his other hand. Now this is where we pick up with the Fantastic Four. And the Fantastic Four, they've been going over this symbiote. They've been analyzing what little information they do have. And up until this point, Reed Richards, he's figured out that it's not going to be much longer before Venom is permanently bonded to Peter Parker. And right now, the Human Torch, he's up in the skies and he is looking everywhere for Spider-Man with no sign of him. Right now, the only thing they're getting is stories in the streets of Spider-Man intimidating people and threatening individuals. And so they want to try to do their best efforts to try to rescue him, Try to get this thing off of him before it's too late. Now this is when we're taken to Peter's place, and Mary Jane, she's making her way up to his building, going inside and up the stairs to Peter's room. Inside, she finds Peter suspended in his Venom suit and what appears to be sleeping. And MJ's response is, you know, what happened? What's going on with you right now? And Peter confesses, you know, this may look a little bit different, but he admits he's quite comfortable in this. And that he also apologizes for not being around. He apologizes because he's been busy, and he uses the plural we because he's becoming more and more in tune with Venom. They're becoming one. Now MJ, she's come to talk about the Bugle and what they said in that, and Peter kind of lets her know it's real. It's true. What they wrote in that, I did what I had to do. You know, if I had done this sooner, I may be able to save people. I may have been able to save Aunt May. You know, these are all decisions before I wasn't ready to make, but now I'm ready to make these decisions. I'm ready to do what is absolutely necessary to protect the people of this city. And Peter Parker, he jumps out the window. He jumps out the window and goes swinging away. And while he's doing this, he's having a conversation with Venom. And Venom, you know, he's telling him more or less they're not going to understand. They're not going to understand because they're human. And while Peter Parker, he may also be human, they've become something more than human. And Venom reassures him that in time, they will come around to his understanding. But as they're sitting here swinging through the city, this is when Peter Parker gets hit by Shocker. Now this isn't much of a fight for Peter Parker, let alone with his Venom symbiote. But Shocker usually doesn't ride alone, and this is also where we see Scorpion. And we have to assume that these guys must have been sent by Fisk to come and test and see if Spider-Man is really just off his rocker. And Scorpion, he doesn't believe it. He's like, you know, there's no way you're gonna convince us that you went bad. But this is when part of the symbiote comes off of Peter Parker and it suspends him up in the air. And this is where Shocker, he's just like, he literally has a shock. He's like, oh crap, like Fisk was right. Like Spider-Man, he's lost it. And this is where we see Shocker. He tries to take a blast at Peter Parker. He tries to take a blast at Venom, and that wasn't the right move. And in the next panel, we're taken to Fisk, and he's sitting here reading in front of a fire, only to get interrupted by Venom's voice. And he comes in and throws on the ground the arm of Shocker and the tail of Scorpion. And this is where Fisk stands up, and he goes toe to toe with him, and he gives him a little information, and he tells him, you know, after Hobgoblin was murdered, he had his men research the woman who died in the fire, May Parker. You know, to provoke such a reaction from Spider-Man, it must have been someone close to him, and that's what connected him to Peter Parker. And so Fisk, you know, he's figured it out. He knows who Spider-Man is. But his investigators, they started digging deeper, trying to find some kind of family, some kind of loved one, a girlfriend, something that they could use against him. And the sad part about it is, there was nobody. Anybody he ever loved is dead. And this is where we see Venom take his hand and put it right through the chest of Fisk. And just like that, Venom takes out Kingpin. Now this is where we pick up with something fun. This is where we pick up with the Sinister Six. We got Doc Ock, we got Mysterio, we got Kraven, we have Rhino, we got Electro, all of the individuals we absolutely love. Now they're sitting here having a discussion. They're having a discussion because they're all figuring out that Spider-Man has finally snapped. He is finally broken. He is just killing everybody that he presumes to be bad, and they just know this Spider-Man is going to be coming for them. And so they need to devise a plan. They need to get ready and prepare for what Venom is about to do. You know, they sent Scorpion and Shocker in as kind of a tester to see exactly what's going on with this situation. And now that they're getting word that Fisk is dead, they're a little bit more than worried in this situation. But Doc Ock, he's preparing. He's getting this new Sinister Six ready to do what is absolutely necessary. Now, as he's sitting here going over everything he's got going on, they're searching for any kind of sighting, and he asks one of his men to do something, and this man stands there for a second, and Doc Ock's not sure. He's like, you know, what can I help you with, Terrence? And this is when Terrence, he takes a knife and plunges it into Doc Ock's back. And Terrence takes off his mask only to reveal it's Eddie Brock. And Eddie Brock, he lets him know, you know, you're not going to kill him. If anybody is going to kill Spider-Man, it's going to be me. And that will be the end of this issue. So go ahead and let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Personally, I think it was a lot of fun. I am thoroughly enjoying this what if story. You know, because at the end of the day, it could have been very easy for Peter Parker to go this direction. You know, they talk about one bad day in DC Comics when it comes to the Joker, and I truly believe that to be true. You know, it takes one bad day for somebody to snap, for somebody to go down the path that Peter Parker's going. And as he continues to go down it, as he kills more people, it's going to become easier for him. And with Venom continuously egging him on, it only further solidifies his new role as a villain. But yeah, let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If you haven't yet, do me a favor and hit that sub button, hit that notification bell. Make sure you don't miss any of the content we have coming out, because we got some X-Men coming out later on today and some Black Cat tomorrow. And with that being said, until the next breakdown.